Few names in Warcraft's history carry the same weight as Uther the Lightbringer, first of the paladins, champion of the Silver Hand, and mentor to Prince Arthas. His story is one of honor, sacrifice, and tragedy. Uther's death at the hands of his own student marked the beginning of Lordaeron's fall, and his memory still lingers in the world he gave everything to protect. Yet in World of Warcraft, his legacy has mostly lived on through a simple, quiet monument in the Western Plaguelands, Uther's Tomb, a place of reverence, but one Blizzard has never fully explored. With World of Warcraft Midnight diving deeper into the conflict between light and void, this forgotten landmark could finally matter again. So in this video, let's talk about the story of Uther's Tomb, how it's been used in WoW so far, and how it could play a huge role in Midnight's themes of light and shadow. To understand why Uther's Tomb could become so important, we have to look back at who Uther really was. Uther the Lightbringer wasn't just a paladin, he was the paladin. The very first of the Silver Hand, handpicked by Archbishop Alanis Full to lead a new order of Holy Knights. He embodied the ideals of the light, and for decades he stood as a beacon of justice and mercy in Lordaeron. But Uther's most famous role was as mentor to Prince Arthas Menethil. He taught Arthas discipline, compassion, and the sacred duty of wielding the light, and tragically it was Arthas who ended his life during the Scourge March on Lordaeron. The image of Arthas striking Uther down in Warcraft 3 remains one of the most haunting scenes in the franchise. It wasn't just the murder of a man, it was the symbolic death of Lordaeron's hope, and the shattering of everything the Silver Hand stood for. Uther's legacy became larger than life. To the Alliance, he was the shining paragon of paladinhood. To the Scarlet Crusade, he was a martyr to be worshipped. And to Arthas, he was one more ghost that haunted him until the bitter end. After his death, the Knights of the Silver Hand built a tomb for Uther in the Western Plaguelands. If you've ever visited, you know how striking it is. Amid the blighted ruins, there stands this radiant monument, statues, braziers, holy ground untouched by the corruption all around it. In classic WoW, players could visit Uther's tomb to pay respects. There was even a pilgrimage questline where paladins and other faithful would bring the offerings. It wasn't a flashy location, but it carried enormous symbolic weight. The tomb wasn't just a shrine, it was a reminder that even in the darkest times, the light endures. Surrounded by the scourge, by decay and ruin, Uther's memory still burned bright. For most players, especially those who loved Warcraft 3, coming across Uther's tomb felt like rediscovering an old friend. But since then, the tomb has mostly been left untouched. It's still there in Cataclysm, still there in Battle for Azeroth, still just quietly standing in the Western Plaguelands, and that raises the question, why build such a beautiful, detailed monument if it never plays a bigger role? That's where Midnight comes in. This expansion is bringing us back to the Eastern Kingdoms, back to Quel'Thalas and Lordaeron. The Plaguelands, the ruins of the north, the very soil where Uther lived and died, and in that context, his tomb feels like a natural story anchor. Midnight is all about exploring legacy, the legacy of kingdoms, of bloodlines, of faith. Uther's tomb is the perfect microcosm of that. It's a relic of what Lordaeron once was, a golden age of paladins and shining ideals. But it's also a question mark for what Lordaeron could become. Will the people of Lordaeron see Uther as a symbol of hope, reclaiming his memory as they rebuild, or will factions twist his legacy for their own ends? Blizzard has a pattern of reviving long-dormant landmarks in new expansions. Think of Hyjal in Cataclysm, Darkshore in Battle for Azeroth, or Blackrock Mountain in Warlords of Draenor. Each time, a forgotten place suddenly comes central. I believe Uther's tomb is ripe for that same treatment in Midnight. If there's one group that would leap to claim Uther's tomb, it's the Scarlet Crusade. The Scarlets have always adored Uther. To them, he's the greatest holy martyr who ever lived, a man who died fighting the Scourge and deserves sainthood. They've used his image in their propaganda before, twisting his memory to justify their holy war. With the Scarlet Crusade rumored to return in Midnight, Uther's tomb becomes the perfect rallying point. Imagine the Scarlets seizing it, declaring it holy ground under their control, and using his name as a weapon against their enemies. They wouldn't care about nuance. They wouldn't care that Uther preached compassion or that he showed mercy in life. They'd paint him as the eternal crusader, a symbol of their cause, a light that demands vengeance against all who oppose him. And this could create some powerful story tension, because what happens when paladins of the Silver Hand Uther's true successors, confronts the Scarlets over the destruction of his tomb. You could have light versus light conflict, both sides claiming his legacy, both sides unwilling to yield. Of course, the Scarlet Crusade aren't the only threat. Midnight is all about the Void's invasion of the Eastern Kingdoms. Imagine if the Void tried to corrupt Uther's tomb directly. The stained glass, once glowing with golden light, begins to fracture with shadow. Tendrils of Void creep over the statue. Echoes whisper in the wind, trying to drag Uther's memory into darkness. This could be one of Midnight's most striking visuals, the battle of light and void made literal in a single location. Blizzard could use the tomb as part of open-world storytelling. It might become the center of a phasing questline, or even a world event where players are called to defend it against waves of void corruption. This way, the world becomes a dynamic part of Midnight's world, a place players return to, not just a background landmark. And it would raise the stakes. If the Void can defile even Uther's resting place, nowhere is safe. Ultimately, Uther's tomb isn't just about one man. It's about what Lordaeron stands for. For the Forsaken, it represents the past they lost, a hero of the kingdom that once rejected them. For the Blood Elves, it represents a human ally who once stood with them, but whose homeland fell to ruin. For the Scarlets, it's a martyr. For the Silverhand, it's their founder. And that's the genius of using Uther's tomb in Midnight. It can serve as a crossroads for every faction in the north, a contested symbol, one that everyone projects their hopes and fears onto. Imagine questlines where Forsaken seek to protect it as part of reclaiming their homeland, or Paladins of the Silverhand rededicating it, building new chapters around it, or even the Scarlet Crusade waging war over it. Uther's tomb could become more than a landmark. It could be a mirror for Lordaeron's rebirth, showing us the fractured, contested identity of the land as it tries to move forward. So that's my theory on Uther's tomb in Midnight. Thanks for watching. It's me, Mook. May the light be with you, friend.